Welcome to the world of obsessive surveillance, where your home stops being your castle and becomes the scene of an invisible nightmare. One fine day you wake up and discover that for months you have been watched through the window of your own home. Every movement, every intimate moment, captured through lenses you've never noticed before. Statistics show that 1 in 6 women has suffered some type of technological stalking. But what happens when the predator is on the other side of your fence? In 2022, Sarah Mitchell discovered something that would turn her life into a nightmare. Her seemingly friendly neighbor was documenting her every second. Today you will discover why simple security cameras can become weapons of psychological terror. And the scariest thing, how anyone can use technology to invade your life without you realizing it until it's too late to escape this private hell. How many times have you noticed that camera pointed at your house? That neighbor who always seems to know too much about your routine. The terror is realizing that your privacy is an illusion. Quiet streets, safe communities, all of this can hide nightmares. The most terrifying stories are those that begin with a gaze that is a little too persistent, a presence that seems casual but hides unhealthy obsession. Have you ever felt like you were being watched in your own home? The line between security and unauthorized surveillance is thinner than we realize, and when that line is crossed, entire lives are shattered. In this case, a seemingly ordinary camera system held records that no court should need to see. This story goes beyond a simple invasion of privacy. There are details that investigators have not released to the public, evidence that was kept secret for months. Sarah's case revealed a disturbing pattern that connects more than 15 victims across different states. But there's something no one expected to find in the recordings, something that completely changed the trajectory of the investigation. Clues hidden in metadata, encrypted files that held even darker secrets. The truth about this case will make you question everything you know about security and technology. And when I reveal what was actually found in these recordings, you will never look at a camera the same way again. Elm Street, a typical American suburban street, cars in garages, children playing on the sidewalk, neighbors greeting each other with smiles. Sarah Mitchell arrived there in 2020, escaping the stress of the big city. White house, wooden fence, perfect garden. Across the street, number 42, the Thompson house. William Thompson, software engineer, reclusive but polite. His wife Elizabeth appears cordial, always with a smile and fresh cookies for new neighbors. It is in this scenario that silent terror began to develop, invisible to everyone's eyes, hidden behind curtains and lenses. A technological nightmare that would transform this quiet street into the scene of one of the most disturbing cases of digital stalking. March 2021. Sarah begins to notice small anomalies. Your curtains move slightly when you return from work. Lights that flicker in the Thompson house when she's on the porch. The constant feeling of being watched intensifies. One day she notices a metallic reflection in her neighbor's window. A lens. Was it paranoia? The hair on the back of his neck didn't lie. Every visit to the garden became a claustrophobic experience. The nighttime silence of the street began to be broken by subtle, almost imperceptible clicks. Something was wrong, deeply wrong. And when she finally had the courage to check her suspicions, she would discover that she was right. But it was just the tip of the iceberg of a much bigger nightmare. But what Sarah would find would change everything. A discovery so disturbing she wouldn't be able to sleep for weeks. The cameras were just the beginning. What was actually being filmed? And why? The answer would shock not just Sarah, but the entire community. Because what seemed like a simple case of voyeurism would hide much darker secrets. Secrets that would connect this case to others around the country. Secrets that would make you question who your neighbors really are. In the next block, you'll find out what was really going on that seemingly quiet street. And get ready, because the truth is much worse than you imagine. September 2020. The warm afternoon sun beat down on the back of Sarah's head as she carried boxes to her new home. Sweat dripped down her back, the cotton of her blouse sticking to her skin. The smell of freshly cut grass and hot asphalt filled the air. That's when he heard light footsteps approaching. Elizabeth Thompson emerged with a plate of cookies, their floral scent cutting through the air like a subtle blade. His eyes were like scanners, going over every detail of Sarah, memorizing her. The handshake lasted a second longer than usual. Cold, slender fingers linger on Sarah's warm skin. An inexplicable shiver ran down his spine. The door to the Thompson house remained ajar, a dark crack watching. Over the next few weeks, Elizabeth appeared constantly, always the moment Sarah got home, always with that smile that seemed to hide something. His visits increased in frequency. Subtle questions about Sarah's routine became more and more specific. Do you always arrive at 6 p.m.? Do you go to the gym 3 times a week? Sarah felt the hairs on the back of her neck stand up with each encounter. In the mirror of the car window, he saw movement in the Thompsons' curtains when he arrived, an occasional metallic glint reflecting off their window pane. His breathing became shorter as he passed the sidewalk of the neighboring house, his stomach clenching as if he knew something that his mind still denied. It was an autumn afternoon when Sarah noticed. While watering the plants on the balcony, an unusual reflection caught his attention. Standing still, with the hose dripping on the floor, she focused her eyes. There, in the Thompsons' bedroom window, a lens definitely pointed in their direction. His heart raced, the sound of blood pulsing in his ears drowned out everything around him. The mouth instantly dried up. With trembling fingers, she lowered the hose. The stomach turned. It wasn't paranoia. It was real. A camera strategically placed, capturing your every move. Her legs shook as she walked back inside, the feeling of being watched now, an oppressive certainty that weighed on her shoulders like molten lead. Sarah began to observe, too. With binoculars hidden behind the curtains, she mapped the Thompsons' movements, and he discovered a frightening pattern. Whenever she was in the garden, curtains would move. Whenever I arrived home from work, a silhouette would pass by the upper window. Sarah's notebook recorded schedules, movements, patterns. Her sleep became fragmented, waking up with a start at every noise. The pressure in his chest made breathing difficult. One night, when he looked through the crack in the curtain, he saw Elizabeth standing in the street, motionless, staring at her house. How long was she there? Panic rose like bile in my throat. Sarah realized she was trapped in an invisible web of constant surveillance. If this suspense gave you goosebumps, leave a like now. It shows that you are prepared for the whole truth. Sarah decided to document everything: photos, schedules, screenshots. On his notebook, a file was growing with evidence. Each click of the keyboard echoed in the silence of his empty house. His fingers were cold, his nails bitten to the raw skin. The bluish glow of the screen illuminated deep, dark circles. She no longer trusted anyone. I wouldn't go to sleep without checking locks 3 times. His apartment had become a mental fortress, every sound amplified by fear. The smell of old coffee and anxiety permeated the rooms. She knew she needed to act, but the fear of confirmation paralyzed her movements. The line between reality and paranoia dissolved like morning fog under the scorching sun of terror. Sarah woke up in the middle of the night to a sound. Footsteps on the street. Through the crack in the curtain, he saw Elizabeth walking slowly down the sidewalk. In his hands something glowed, a tablet. She stood in front of Sarah's house, staring. Frozen with terror, Sarah held her breath as Elizabeth approached the gate. Her fingers clenched her cell phone, ready to dial emergency. Cold sweat ran down his temples. Suddenly, Elizabeth returned home. Sarah knew the time had come to discover the truth, no matter the consequences. With shaking hands, he decided to confront his fears, but nothing would prepare her for what she would discover in the next few hours. Elizabeth Thompson's psychiatric records revealed a disturbing pattern: diagnosis of severe obsessive-compulsive disorder and borderline personality disorder traits. Reports indicated a fixation on saving young women from invisible dangers. In her notes, she described Sarah as a vulnerable prey who needed constant protection. The forensic psychologist explained, technological stalkers live in a delirium of unilateral intimacy. For Elizabeth, cameras were care tools. The obsession grew geometrically. First Sarah, then other victims. A clear pattern emerged: alone women, newly arrived in the neighborhood between 25-35 years old. Elizabeth mentally adopted them, creating delusional narratives of maternal protection. Detailed psychological profile showed Elizabeth as a meticulous predator. Above-average intelligence, advanced technical skills, harmless appearance. Classic predatory stalker profile. Documents revealed a childhood marked by abandonment and neglect, an absent father, a chemically dependent mother. Elizabeth grew up yearning for absolute control over her environment. In adulthood, this need turned into an obsession with surveillance. Psychologists identified a distorted Electra complex. She projected onto her victims a need to be the perfect mother she never had. Each woman observed became an extension of her own fragmented identity. A classic case of pathological identity disorder mixed with compulsive voyeurism. Ironically, multiple signs were ignored by the community. Elizabeth was described as kind but strange. Neighbors noticed peculiar behavior. She knew everyone's detailed schedules, offered to look after empty houses, installed security systems free of charge. His compulsion to help was seen as kindness, not pathological control. A neighbor reported, "She always knew when I got home from work. She left gifts at the door." Another testimonial, "If my routine changed, she would ask immediately." These now obvious signs have been normalized. Society often ignores problematic behaviors if wrapped in apparent kindness. Elizabeth manipulated this social blindness masterfully. If you ever feel like you know someone with these traits, write in the comments, "I know who this type of person is." The investigations revealed a sophisticated modus operandi. Elizabeth began with casual observation, progressing to detailed notes. It followed a specific pattern. 1. Identification of the victim. 2. Study of routines. 3. Installation of surveillance devices. 4. Obsessive documentation. 5. Gradual approach. 6. Forced integration into the victim's life. Technicians discovered that Elizabeth modified security cameras for continuous recording. It used software for audio amplification and digital zoom. Their files were organized by project, each victim a separate folder. The level of planning scared even experienced investigators. "She turned stalking into a scientific method," reported one detective. "This case exposes deep flaws in our social perception. How could an entire community not notice the signs?" The answer is disturbing. Gender stereotypes protected Elizabeth. Women are rarely seen as sexual predators or dangerous stalkers. Her age and motherly appearance generated automatic confidence. Furthermore, technology has made surveillance socially acceptable. Security cameras are seen as protection, not intrusion. Elizabeth exploited these blind spots masterfully. Experts warn, predators adapt to social norms. The traditional profile of the male stalker is evolving. Female stalkers are real and equally dangerous. Society needs to expand its awareness of the multiple faces of the modern predator. Comparative analysis revealed universal patterns. Technological stalkers follow a predictable progression: visual voyeurism, data collection, physical approach, confrontation. Elizabeth was no exception. His previous cases showed consistent escalation. It began with passive observation, evolved into indirect interaction, culminated in confrontation. Experts have identified 3 critical phases. 1. Idealization phase. The victim is perfect. 2. Delusion phase. The stalker creates a romantic, maternal narrative. 3. Persecution phase, when reality breaks the illusion. In all cases, technology served as a catalyst. Cameras, microphones, GPS, tools that normalize the invasion. Sarah's case is a warning for mass technological surveillance. We need to be alert. Sarah ignored multiple early warnings. The first red flag, Elizabeth showing up just as Sarah arrived home. What a coincidence, and Sarah thought, rationalizing the impossible. The second sign, overly personal questions. Do you have a boyfriend? Family nearby? Third warning, unsolicited gifts left at the door. Fourth indicator, Elizabeth knowing details Sarah never shared. Fifth warning, the constant feeling of being watched. Sixth sign, changes in routine generating immediate reactions from Elizabeth. Experts confirm, obsessives show consistent signs. The problem is normalization. Sarah, like many victims, attributed abnormal behavior to excessive friendliness, a common and potentially fatal mistake. 4 specific moments where intervention was possible. 1. When Sarah first noticed the camera, she should have documented it immediately. 2. When neighbors commented on Elizabeth's strange behavior, signs were discussed but not reported. 3. When Sarah subtly confronted Elizabeth, should have involved authorities. 4. When other women reported similar behavior. A single formal complaint could have changed everything. Police confirm, most cases could be avoided with preventive action. The fear of overdoing it paralyzes victims. The shame of appearing paranoid prevents reporting. Experts are clear, better safe than sorry. A police report is better than a late protection order. The system failed on multiple levels. First, residential privacy laws are ambiguous about surveillance between neighbors. Second, police treat stalking complaints as neighborhood problems. Third, there is a lack of training to identify technological stalking. Fourth, digital evidence is underestimated in early cases. Fifth, traditional stalker profile excludes women. Cases demonstrate that Elizabeth took advantage of all these failures. Police departments review protocols following this case. New guidance. All complaints of non-consensual surveillance must be formally investigated. Legal reforms are underway. Experts suggest criminalize recording without consent, even on private property. The line between security and stalking needs to be clearly defined. Cases like this happen every day near you, and often you don't even realize it. Subscribe to the channel to discover the stories that could save your life. Forensic analysis identified crucial overlooked technical clues. First clue, Wi-Fi connection patterns. Elizabeth hacked neighboring networks to access devices. Second evidence, file metadata. Photos of Sarah contained timestamps inconsistent with official records. Third piece of evidence, jamming signals on Sarah's home cameras. Fourth indication, abnormal data consumption on Elizabeth's network. Fifth piece of evidence, GPS records of Sarah's car being monitored. Experts explain, digital stalkers leave traces. The problem is negligence in investigating. Police departments now train detectives in basic digital forensics. Victims are advised, save logs, capture screens, document technical anomalies. Later testimony revealed that multiple people knew something was wrong but did not act. A neighbor, I always thought it was strange that she knew so much about everyone. A postman, she asked about her neighbor's mail. An internet technician, her antenna installation was suspicious. A delivery man, she asked to leave her neighbor's packages with her. A gardener, she watched everyone. These unspoken warnings form a frightening mosaic. Experts emphasize, communities need to learn to communicate concerns. Anonymous reporting channels are essential. Responsible community vigilance can prevent tragedies. Silence protects predators. Key takeaways from this case. 1. Trust your instincts about constant vigilance. 2. Document every suspicious interaction immediately. 3. Use technology for counter-surveillance, camera detectors, network checkers. 4. Establish clear boundaries with neighbors. 5. Report suspicions to the authorities in documentation. 6. Connect with other neighbors to cross-check. 7. Invest in basic digital security. 8. Learn signs of obsessive behavior. Sarah now teaches digital self-defense workshops. Police departments have reformed protocols. Lawmakers propose new anti-tech stalking laws. But the biggest change comes from awareness. Each case prevents the next. Share this knowledge. December 2021. Sarah finally decided to take action, hired a counter-surveillance specialist. The scan revealed the unimaginable. 3 micro-cameras hidden on his property. One disguised at the bird feeder, another in a false electrical outlet. The third, most disturbing, is within your own power meter, all connected via Wi-Fi to the Thompson house. Recordings estimated at more than 5 terabytes. Months of his life intimately documented. Private moments captured without consent. Intercepted telephone conversations. routines mapped out in microscopic detail. Sarah felt the floor disappear, nausea rising in the throat. The invasion was total, absolute, unthinkable. Investigators discovered a clandestine server in the Thompsons' basement, central file for multiple victim surveillance. Sarah was just one in a network of at least 12 women monitored simultaneously. Detailed categorization: Project Rose, Sarah, Project Dawn, Project Luna, each woman an experiment. Endless spreadsheets with schedules, habits, preferences, algorithms created to predict movements, cameras adapted with facial recognition, directional microphones capturing conversations from a distance. The obsession was scientific, methodical, industrial in scale, a surveillance operation that rivals government agencies. The level of planning froze even experienced investigators. Sarah decided to confront Elizabeth directly, with hidden police backup. The approach took place during a neighborhood barbecue. Elizabeth, noticing the police action, tried to delete files remotely, but it was too late. The servers were already confiscated. Elizabeth's face transformed as she realized her secret world was falling apart. Attempted to escape through the backyard, short but dramatic chase, surrender fake tears, melodramatic pleas. He tried to justify his actions as protection, maternal care. Officers found a detailed map of Sarah's home in his pockets, planning for a physical invasion. Escalation was inevitable. Sarah avoided a much more dangerous direct confrontation for a few days. Among the items confiscated was a disturbing diary. Elizabeth kept handwritten records detailing her obsessions, pages and pages describing fusion fantasies with their victims, plans to eternally protect them through kidnapping and isolation, detailed drawings of Sarah, stolen memorabilia, bits of hair in sealed envelopes. The most disturbing aspect: Elizabeth wrote never sent love letters signed "Your Eternal Mother." Each page revealed a mind fractured beyond recovery. Forensic psychiatrists called the diary one of the most disturbing records of obsessive disorder ever documented. The evidence painted a picture of meticulous madness. If the truth you just discovered impacted you, leave a like. Few make it this far. The expanded investigation revealed shocking connections. Elizabeth was a member of a dark web forum dedicated to stalking. He shared techniques, equipment, potential targets. Mentored other stalkers, teaching motherly methods of surveillance. The forum brought together dozens of predators, many women, defying stereotypes. They exchanged not just methods but victims, passing on information when a woman moved out. A predatory ecosystem operating in the shadows of the internet. FBI intervened, tracking multiple related cases. The network collapsed, resulting in 23 arrests in different states. Sarah's case triggered one of the largest operations against digital stalking in history, potentially saving dozens of lives. After arrest, Elizabeth confessed, but not repentance, a proud confession. She described her victims as incomplete projects that she was trying to save, revealed plans to eliminate threats to Sarah's safety, ex-boyfriends, close co-workers. The escalation would culminate in the elimination of all intruders in the lives of their victims, followed by kidnapping for eternal protection. Psychiatrists confirmed Elizabeth completely lost touch with reality, living in a delusional world where she was a divine savior. The turning point for Sarah was the realization that she was minutes away from becoming a permanent prisoner of a sick mind. The cold reality of violence narrowly avoided. Sarah moved out of the house, but the ghosts remained. Diagnosed PTSD, daily panic attacks, unable to sleep without checking every corner multiple times, intensive therapy 3 times a week, developed severe agoraphobia, fear of public and private spaces. Every sound was a potential threat. Every neighbor, a potential predator. Relationships destroyed by constant fear. Permanent remote work, because I could no longer leave the house. The shadow of surveillance persisted, even with Elizabeth imprisoned. Years of therapy predicted slow recovery. Technological stalking leaves invisible scars deeper than physical attacks. The victims carry terror in their DNA. The neighborhood was never the same again. Distrust has replaced the sense of community. Neighbors have installed excessive security systems. Police were called due to trivial suspicions. Children prohibited from playing in the street. Block parties cancelled indefinitely. Property values plummeted by 40%. Families moved en masse. The case created a ghost community. People locked in their homes looking suspiciously at everyone. Attempts to rebuild trust have repeatedly failed. Community psychologists administered group sessions. Slowly, very slowly, the healing began. But the scars on the community will remain for generations. Experienced detectives were marked. 25-year police veteran needed therapy after seeing Elizabeth's files. I've seen a lot of violence, but this level of obsession is different. It's planned, calculated, perverse. Forensic experts have developed specific protocols for dealing with secondary trauma. The methodical coldness of the crime was more impressive than the violence. One investigator said, "It's like discovering someone stole your soul in pieces, documenting each fragment." The department now requires team rotation in cases of severe stalking, mandatory psychological support for everyone involved. Elizabeth's shadows haunted even the most hardened professionals. The 12 identified victims formed a support group. Each bore unique scars. One developed anorexia nervosa after discovering that even her meals were monitored. Another attempted suicide upon learning of the extent of the invasion. A third moved to another country, leaving everything behind. They all shared the same fear, that someone was still watching. Group therapy helped, but the road to recovery seemed endless. Weekly meetings became a lifeline. They shared stories, coping techniques, small daily victories. Some became anti-stalking activists. Others preferred anonymity. They all agreed, psychological violence leaves deeper marks than physical scars. The case accelerated urgent legislative reforms. Bill on digital privacy advanced in Congress. New protections against technological stalking have taken effect in 15 states. Court decisions have established crucial precedents. Cameras pointed at someone else's property constitute criminal trespass. Security companies have revised installation policies. Police training now includes an extensive module on digital stalking. Significantly expanded victim advocacy. 24/7 crisis centers created specifically for technology stalking. Assistance funds established to cover therapy and relocation. Sarah has testified at multiple congressional hearings. Your story saved lives, changed laws, transformed perceptions. 10 years later, the case continues to influence policy. Elizabeth remains in prison, repeatedly denied parole. Sarah wrote a best-selling book about her experience. He became a specialist in residential digital security, consults police departments globally. His lectures fill auditoriums. It's never paranoia if someone is actually watching, she always says. The number of reported cases increased by 300% after his case gained notoriety. More women found the courage to report it. Patterns were identified early. Lives were saved. Elm Street now has a memorial plaque, in memory of privacy lost and regained. The initial fear turned into strength, inspiration, change. Sarah's legacy is one of empowerment through survival. The investigation began with a tip in late 2021. Detective Sarah Chen led the undercover operation. First step, surveillance of the Thompsons without alerting them. Technical team installed legal wiretaps after court order. Careful movement so as not to alarm Elizabeth. Monitoring his online activity revealed obsessive patterns. Access logs showed Elizabeth revisiting Sarah's files multiple times a day. Suspicious purchase of surveillance equipment via the dark web. Detective Chen. It was like a scientist studying a guinea pig, not a careful neighbor. Turning point. Interception of criminal messages. Elizabeth planned a dangerous climb. Decision made. Act before victims suffer physical harm. 3 months of meticulous investigation. Team worked in shifts 24/7. Digital analysts tracked purchases, downloads, accesses. Chen. It felt like ghost hunting. Invisible predator leaving digital trails. Challenge. Collect evidence without alerting suspicion. Forensic technicians cloned servers remotely. They intercepted encrypted communications, mapped online contact network. Shocking discovery. Elizabeth was part of an international stalker ring. sharing tactics, victims, technologies. Size of the case expanded exponentially. FBI joined the investigation. Joint operation marked the biggest effort against digital stalking in history. Immense pressure not to fail. November 2021. Accumulated evidence allowed for sweeping warrants. SWAT team prepared for simultaneous search. Chen. Surgical planning. One mistake could destroy digital evidence. Critical timing. Elizabeth routinely deleted files at 11 p.m. operations scheduled for 22:50. Voltage in the control center. Detectives watched monitors, waiting for a signal. Sarah was kept in a safe place during the operation. The Thompsons' internet connections were discreetly blocked. Power systems prepared for shutdown if necessary. Time synchronized to the second. Everyone knew, just one chance. Future of multiple victims depended on perfect execution. 22:50 hours. Teams simultaneously raided the Thompsons' home and office. Elizabeth tried to wipe servers remotely. Quick response from the technical team prevented destruction. Confusion, screams, resistance. Elizabeth panicked when she saw uniforms. Desperate attempt to swallow flash drive with additional evidence. William Thompson cooperated immediately, shocked by discoveries. Confiscated evidence filled police van. Servers, computers, surveillance devices. Elizabeth led away in handcuffs, protesting her innocence. Chen, I've never seen someone so calm in appearance but so destroyed inside. Perfect operation. All evidence preserved. First major blow against international digital stalking. Digital forensics workers worked for weeks decoding files. Military encryption protecting data. Finally, breakthrough. Default password, Mung Zalosa 2020. Bitter irony. Files revealed frightening extent. 50 GB of videos of Sarah alone. Another 200 GB distributed among victims. Metadata showed access from 15 different countries. Elizabeth sold dark web content to global stalkers. Monetization of obsession. Psychological analysis of the files revealed patterns: increasing obsession, progressive dehumanization, planning violence. Each file a nail in Elizabeth's legal coffin. Irrefutable evidence of premeditation. Solid federal case built. Investigation expanded to 50 related cases. Stalkers from Elizabeth's network captured in coordinated operations. Interpol involved in international manhunt. Elizabeth partially confessed to trying to negotiate a sentence. Whistleblower revealed other undiscovered cases. Trial lasted 3 months. Devastating testimonies from victims. Experts detailing psychological damage. Elizabeth sentenced to 30 years without the possibility of parole. Judgment became a landmark in jurisprudence on digital stalking. Chen promoted, became a global expert on cybercrime. Sarah, present at the sentencing, finally found some closure. Justice served, but scars remained. Sarah emerged stronger, but different. He became a national spokesperson against stalking. Founded non-profit organization Invisible Eyes to help victims. Development of a surveillance detection app. Collaboration with legislators on new laws. Lectures at universities on digital security. Chen became a partner in the mission. Together they revolutionized research protocols. Sarah. I survived so others don't have to go through the same hell. Therapy became a driving force. He converted trauma into activism. Today, it is a global reference in preventing technological stalking. Full recovery took 5 years, but victory over fear, eternal. The case generated legislative changes in 20 countries. International Convention on Digital Privacy and Development, new criminal category, technological stalking with aggravating obsession, tougher sentences for non-consensual surveillance crimes, expanded digital rights to include specific protection against domestic surveillance. Tech companies required to implement anti-stalking measures. European Union created special group against digital stalking. US established federal task force. Brazil included digital stalking in the penal code. Japan, South Korea followed. UK expanded definition of harassment. Australia created a national stalker registry. Paradigmatic change in the legal perception of digital crime. Security industry revolutionized. mandatory anti-surveillance detectors on commercial cameras. Digital scanning apps available for free. AI developed to identify stalking patterns. Privacy by design technology has become standard. Routers with unauthorized access detection. Behavioral analysis software to identify digital obsession. Digital signs warn about non-consensual recording. Chen and Sarah collaborate with Apple, Google, Microsoft to develop protections. New paradigm. Technology as a shield, not a weapon. Future where obsessive surveillance is technically impossible. Continue uncovering the darkest secrets of the criminal mind. Sign up and be part of this investigation. Sarah published the definitive manual, When Invisible Eyes Watch. 5-step protocol for detecting stalking. Trust your intuition. Feeling of being watched is rarely paranoia. Document everything. Photos, schedules, suspicious interactions. Regular technology check. Network scans, camera tests. Support network. Neighbors, family, online groups. Immediate legal action at the first concrete sign. Free manual in 12 languages. Police departments distribute copies. Schools include safety in their curriculum. Saved hundreds of lives. Cases detected early thanks to the guide. World authorities endorse it. Awarded by the UN for Best Digital Preventive Material. Vigilante Neighborhoods program created. Community training on identifying obsessive behavior. Secure anonymous reporting channels. Support groups on every block. Information signs about privacy rights. Annual anti-stalking awareness festivals. Elm Street became a national model. Stalking crime reduced by 75% in areas with a program. Communities have learned silence protects predators, voice saves lives, human connection as an antidote to digital isolation. Cultural transformation from don't get involved to take care of others. Solidarity as a weapon against obsession. Sarah ends talks with the same message. You are stronger than trauma. Resilience techniques taught globally. Survivor replaces victim in the vocabulary. Global empowerment movement. Symbolic tattoos, barred eye, representing refusal of surveillance. Annual Reclaiming Privacy marches. Sarah receives thousands of thank you letters. Each story of overcoming strengthens others. Legacy turned horror into hope. Elizabeth in prison while Sarah flies to international conferences. Who really won? The answer lies in every life saved, every law changed, every predator captured. The power of survival transcends revenge. Healing is revolutionary. In the next video, I will reveal the even more disturbing case that inspired this investigation. Don't click elsewhere. Continue this discovery of sinister revelations.